Hi guys, this video is designed for those of you who weren't able to come to the Gospel Project training, small group leader training that we had last week. So I wanted to go through and just make sure that we were all on the same page with where we're going. It's so important that we all know what the vision is, what the goals are, logistical things, and so I'm finding that somewhat challenging, so I'm hoping that this video will help connect us a little bit more. So first and foremost, thank you for your investment in kids and in being a small group leader, for being consistent each and every week. I know sometimes it can be hard and draining and all of those things, so I want you to know that I really do see that and I appreciate that. And I love that when God calls us, He calls us all to different levels of ministry, all to different areas, all to different things. And so I appreciate your calling. Excuse me. So the first thing I want to do is just talk about this movement to Gospel Project. Gospel Project is a curriculum, and if you're familiar or not familiar, we've been using 252 Basics for the last few years as a curriculum. And so curriculum is always a tool that we use to accomplish our goals in kids ministry. It should never be the driver of what we do in kids ministry. Sometimes that can be challenging because we are moving at such a rapid pace just on staff here. So many different things. Weekends never stop. We just have to keep on plugging along, and we have all different kinds of things along the way. Kids choir, Glory of Christmas, all of those different things. So our goal is always to make sure that curriculum is fitting in with what we're doing. And one of the reasons that we partnered with 252 for the last few years is their umbrella company, which is called Orange, has amazing philosophy for churches and for families. And so the whole reason it's even called Orange to begin with is because they equate the church to being red and the families to being yellow, or vice versa. Sorry, I can't remember. But together when we partner, it becomes Orange. And so that's really the goal of any time we do anything in kids ministry. We have our kids for such a short amount of time in this church building, being able to minister to them. But parents obviously have kids for way longer. So really, our job is to cue the parents to have conversations, and so that's always we want to remain our focus. That's the reason that we started with 252, because they had a lot of resources that made that easy. We are going to continue with some of those resources like apps and things like that for families, but as far as curriculum from week to week goes, we felt like maybe it was a little bit more moral focused, where we would be talking about a theme instead of actual scripture as the driver. So that is one of the main reasons that we've decided to switch to Gospel Project curriculum. Also, it's just always good to change and mix things up a little. I know for some people change is hard. Myself, I actually love change. I get bored really easy. You may have picked up on that already, just different personalities. But I always think it's good to bring in fresh and new things. So it won't necessarily be completely different from a kid's perspective as far as our programming is concerned, but as far as content, it will look very different. So, the overall value of Gospel Project, again, these are things that we discussed at the training, so I'm just going to kind of give you a quick synopsis of these things. Unfortunately, Chris talked about this a lot more in our training, but the three core values of Gospel Project is to be Jesus-centered. So whatever we do, it is Jesus-centered, gospel transforming, so always focusing on the fact that Jesus died for us and that that's transformational and mission driven. So you'll see us begin to focus a little bit more on missions minded things. Gospel Project is a 3-year scope and sequence. So basically what we're going to be doing is going chronologically through the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, from beginning of time to the next life, if you will. So we are going to be in this for the next 3 years, which is really exciting because I've never used a curriculum that necessarily went through straight through the Bible like this. So that is what we're going to be doing. And so every single week, one of their core values is to connect with Christ. Whether we're talking about Noah and the ark, or we're talking about David, or we're talking about the Judges, or wherever we're at, there's always going to be a connection time that brings us back to the gospel and back to what Jesus did. So our kids are going to get a really good understanding of how Jesus is weaved throughout the Bible, even before he was actually on this earth. So all that to say, what's going to look different about using Gospel Project? So some of the things that will look different is some verbiage. I'm including a sheet in this email that will talk a little bit about the verbiage, but it looks like this for terms. So you'll see us use things like volume and unit and session. Those are just the way they kind of block things out. One of the big things that will be different is in the past we've gone month by month. So one theme would last 1 month. For all of August, we would talk about wisdom or whatever. This is by unit. So this first unit is 6 weeks. The second unit is 4 weeks. The third unit, I think, is like 7 weeks. And then the fourth unit is 3 weeks. So there will usually be... So like a clump of units make up a volume, if you will. So there's a volume, which is 1 year. Units are kind of like semesters, if you will. And then sessions are what we do each and every week. So you'll see that on your paper sometimes. Not a big deal, but just so you know, you will have this sheet. The key passage is just going to be our scripture memorization for the month. And big picture question. That's like our big thing that we do want to make sure that we discuss. That's going to be focused on every single week. Every unit has one big picture question. By the end of that unit, we really want kids to understand what that means. So that's like our bottom line that we've used in the past. So those are some things that will look different. The chronological study would be different. One of the things I'm super excited about is we are putting up a giant timeline. We're just tweaking some things from our marketing, design, and print department. Hopefully it will be up next weekend. But in the main hallway, when you walk up the stairs after you go through security, on one side is the Ridge Kids wall. On the other side will be a giant timeline that will have every session that we're doing from Genesis to Revelation on there. And so the idea is that sometimes you can take your kids out and look at that timeline and say, okay, this is where we are in the scope of the Bible. We're way over here. Look at all of these things that happened up until when Jesus was born, after Jesus was born, all of those things. And also parents will be able to see that, and so kids will be able to make those connections with parents. It has pictures on the wall for each session. Those pictures will also be on our take-homes. It will also be on our presentation slides and all of those things. So the goal is that the consistency will engage in conversation. So it's going to have like a big thing that says you are here. So every week we'll move it to the session that we're at. Again, with the goal of creating communication with parents. We are sending out emails every unit, so that kind of chunk of time to engage parents in what we're discussing each week. Another thing that is different for you is that there is a blog available each and every week. You will have seen that on the weekly email and video I already sent out this week. And it has the directions all on there, but you can go on that blog. And part of the goal of Gospel Project is for our kids to go through the Bible in 3 years, but really a huge benefit is for us as a team, us as leadership, to go through this as well. I have never done that completely all the way through, and so I'm excited to take the journey along with the kids, and so I hope that you will too. Here's the thing, your small group will be so much better if you are engaged in the journey, if you are studying what we're reading, if you are prepared, if you're just really excited about it. So the blog is something that they've written that you can do a devotional about every week for what we're studying, and there's a 3 to 4 minute video that just has some tips on it for that week. A lot of that may be designed more for the large group leader, but it is a win if you get any little excerpts from it. So I would encourage you to watch it as much as possible. It's obviously not required, but those are just all extra things. Again, the more you're prepared for your small group, the better it's going to go. I promise you that. So we are asking you to do a little bit more prep for this. Just simply engaging in the Word of God. That is the extra prep. The other things that are different is each week builds on each other. We haven't really had that in the past. Kind of each lesson was independent. And so this, because we are studying chronologically, it will begin to build on each other. Unfortunately, we know that most of our families don't come every single week. That's okay. It definitely is something that you can jump into, but the benefit is that you can continue to teach expositionally about like what is happening, the context of what is happening, and where we're going. Okay, what are some things that will look the same? We're doing the large group, small group model, exactly the same concept. Our actual logistics will look a little bit different. Our small group time before large group will be 10 minutes now instead of 5. You probably already saw that on your regular weekly email that I already sent out as well. There's activities on there for that time that will more than fill that time, I'm sure. So we're going to do 10 minutes at the front end, then we're going to do large group, and then we're going to come back to our 20-minute small group at the end. So the upfront part is still like a social and engaging in that direction, and the after large group is more of the apply and the now what. So that will look the same. Relationships are a priority still. That's the same. We never want to be so focused on getting through something that we miss out on the relationship opportunities. That is key, period. The basic feel is the same. Again, kids aren't going to necessarily walk in and go, oh my word, we changed everything. That's not the way it's designed. This is just a tool that we're using to teach kids the Bible in a better way. Verse memory is every unit. There's been lots of conversations in our teams through the last even 6 months about how often we should have verse memorization. It's hard because some kids come every week, some kids come once every 4 weeks. Right now we're going to stick with it once every unit just for the sake of ease, and that's the way it's written. And then if we feel we need to add more, we definitely can. The bottom line or the big picture question is the same. We always want to end on one final point where we can bring it back around and help kids really know what they're walking away with. Okay, that's the overview. Those are my notes. I know I'm talking fast. I'm sorry. I want you to know what we talked about this meeting, but I don't want to take all of your time. Okay, quest-specific things that are changing. We talked about the times, 10 to 20 minutes. Use your time wisely. Again, be prepared. If you are in the 2nd or 3rd grade group, specifically at 11 o'clock, that Quest Theater gets loud. It just does because there's a lot of kids. Please feel free to go out in the hallway, sneak away to a little cove in the hallway or somewhere where you can have a little bit more intimate conversation with your kids. That is key. Every single small group, every single service, you should be praying with your kids. That should be a priority. You can decide, is it something you want to do first and foremost with your group and they know to come in every single time, or is it something you want to do at the very end? That's up to you, but please, 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 critical, take the time to pray every single time. Use your time. This is like a dumb logistic, but I'm going to have these cardboard pieces for you as we are going to lean towards more things on paper sometimes so that you can have a little bit of a sturdy writing spot. Not a big deal. A couple other housekeeping things. For the zone, please be in the zone. When the doors open, please be in there unless you have an assignment, if you will, somewhere else like greeting. But we really need all hands on deck in the zone, and many times people are talking in the theater, which I love and I want for you guys, but I do have other responsibilities that I need to take care of, so it's difficult for me to be in the zone, but I need you as small group leaders to really be in there to engage with kids. So if you can be in there. Bathrooms. Oh, bathrooms. Listen, these are for 2nd and 3rd graders. They are big now. We are really going to push no large group bathroom, no visits during large group, unless it is an emergency, because what happens is one person comes and then 27 people come. So please do not say yes if they come and ask you if they can go to the bathroom. Ask them if they can wait a few minutes. 2 weeks ago when we were out for water weekend, Renee and I had probably had 20 kids come up and say, I have to go to the bathroom. And then when we were like, can you wait 10 more minutes so we're ready to go? And they're like, yeah. And we didn't end up taking one person to the bathroom the entire weekend. So they can do it. Sometimes there are circumstances where they do need to use the restroom. Of course, we never want kids to feel uncomfortable or unsafe, or that they couldn't use the restroom when they really needed to. But we do want to deter that as much as possible. So please be conscious of that. No adults in the bathrooms. No adults in the bathrooms, no exceptions. If for some reason you need to check on a child, grab another adult to have them stand at the door. Please do not use the restrooms out of convenience. You need to go outside of the secured area and down to the new construction area where the bathrooms are, where the old adult ed hallway was. If you can, please use that before team time. But if you need to, of course, go. But please do not use the bathrooms up in the Upper Ridge Kids area. Let me go through that. Okay, small groups. Please make sure that you are focused on what we're talking about for small groups. Of course, if other conversations come up and it is a biblical conversation or an important, and what you feel like is an important conversation, of course have it. And of course, there's always going to be random conversations with kids about Pokemon or Fortnite or whatever there is going on in their life, but always try to steer that back to our focus, because again, we only have these kids for a short amount of time. But also I am going to ask that you not hand out or have extra things going home that aren't part of the curriculum at this time. If you have an idea for a craft or an activity or whatever, I am super happy to engage in that conversation. But anything that is handed out to kids should come through Ridge Kids Marketing or Northridge Church Marketing. So please no handouts beyond what we provide at this point, unless we have the conversation ahead of time. Let's see. I'm sorry, I'm just looking through my notes really quick. Okay, I think that's kind of the big picture right now. So I am going to, this was included, I'm sorry, I'm jumping. This was included also in the other team email that I sent today. This is the first volume of where we will be going for this year. So this will be your key to what we're studying each and every session, which is on a weekly, and then you can see like unit 1 is God Created Everything, and the volume is in the beginning. So the volume is like kind of that bigger picture, and the units are the semesters. So this will be good for when you need to look up on the blog like what we're studying. So it says adults and students, and then preschool and kids. Obviously we are preschool and kids, that's what we're studying. Gospel Project is written for preschool through adults, so they have a lot of great resources. Also, I'm just going to include this in there. This is just interesting. It's 99 essential doctrines that we'll be discussing over the scope and sequence of our curriculum. So it's really interesting to see how they fit together under these umbrellas of God, creation, the church, restoration, God's church, God's revelation, all of these things. So that's super exciting. I think that's all I have for you. So thank you for sitting through this. I recognize it was long, but not as long as our 2-hour meeting that you missed. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Don't be overwhelmed. I've been overwhelmed for months, but it really does start to make sense as you go and just get into the swing of it. So I hope that you enjoy the journey as well. Please pray and ask God to just enlighten you as we journey together through the Bible. I'm super excited about it. Okay, thank you and have a great day.